Hey dudes, and welcome to the Leftover Culture Review, where we review the most radical games for the best consoles out there, especially like the Atari Jaguar stuff. Who could forget how incredibly awesome some of those games are? Today we have got a nail-biting, white-knuckle, action-packed ride for you. Well, not really. Today we are looking at Sega's Art Alive. And for a good reason, right? I got sent to my room. Mum's like, Bruiser, you are way too grouchy today. Go to your room, go and chill out. And I'm like, no, I'm not, Mum. I'm totally calm. What are you talking about? And I don't know about you guys, but every time I get sent to my room, Mum's always like, why don't you do some colouring in? Why don't you do some drawing? Why don't you do some arts and crafts? And I just want to review the best games ever. But I think I have found a compromise with Sega's Art Alive. This isn't so much of a game, and this isn't going to be so much of a review, but it does let you make drawings, paint pictures, all on the Sega Mega Drive. I kind of think of it as like the poor man's version of MS Paint, but it's got some features that MS Paint could only dream of, and some features that I really wish it copied from MS Paint, because I guess, like, first and foremost, I'm just going to kick it off by saying Art Alive doesn't let you save anything that you do. The manual actually recommends using a VCR to record your picture. Thankfully, here in 2022, I've got a laptop doing the recording for me, so I'm going to give you guys just like a dive into Sega's Art Alive, what it can do, what it can't do, and how I use it to chill out. So yeah, like I said, this is basically MS Paint, but for the Sega Mega Drive. So you have got some fantastic tools right from the start screen. You get dropped into a blank canvas. I'm going to show you like the templates and stuff that it comes with in a bit, but first and foremost, we've got to pick a palette to work with, because you only get 16 colors and a couple of different brick textures to use for your picture. And if you decide to change palettes during like your drawing, it's going to change all the colors on the screen. You are absolutely and totally limited to 16 colors. So let's go ahead and pick a palette that I think we can work with, and I'm gonna go for the pastel-y kind of colors, just because I think they give you like a nice range. All right, so now that I've picked a palette I like the look of, I'm gonna check out some of these tools. You've got the absolute classics, like you can draw lines, which is handy. You've also got a circle tool to draw circles, and a square tool to draw squares. There's the pencil tool, which I never liked, not in MS Paint, not here in Sega's Art Alive. You've got your eraser tool, which basically just uses, see how on the palette there's like the background color box? It basically is a paintbrush tool, but it uses the background color. And then you've got the paint bucket tool. Everyone kind of knows what that does. It fills in a space with the paint bucket. And you've got your spray can. What I really like though, the tool that I use absolutely the most is, I can't remember what it's called actually. Hold on a second, bear with me. Freeform. So the Freeform tool is going to give you like the most control. So we'll go ahead, select that. I'm going to choose a black background color, and then we get to pick a line weight. So I'm going to go, I always say go for the biggest, boldest lines you can, because then you don't have to do as much actual drawing. We also can set the speed of how fast our lines get drawn. So I'm going to go dead in the middle, because I'm boring like that. On the far right, we have access to the text tool. We can add stickers, we can add animations, and we can also create new canvases. And get into where like the default things are, but we'll check that out in a sec. We'll go ahead and we'll just start using the Freeform tool to make some art happen. So pressing A makes you draw, and B, lets you move the freeform tool without putting any lines down. Alright guys, so I have quickly pulled together something very special for this episode, which is a self-portrait of me. Sneezing so hard that my eyes are like popping out of my head. But as you can see, it's pretty easy to quickly pull together something simple here in Art Alive. I didn't actually expect to maybe spend this long working on a piece just for a review, but I've gone ahead and done it anyway because once I get started pulling something together, it's really hard to stop until I see my vision come to life. And I feel so much calmer for it. But it's hard to spend hours and hours and hours working on a piece because, you know, once you turn the system off, the original version of that picture, that illustration, that piece of art, it's gone forever. The best you can do is take a screenshot at the end, or in this case, record the whole time lapse of it coming together. As you saw, I was using the paint bucket, the freeform tool. I changed palettes halfway through because I was playing with the stickers and I wanted Sonic to look like Sonic, and I realized I like that palette better. But you know, these changes kind of like happened on the fly, mostly accidentally, which is a nice thing, I guess, with something like Art Alive, is that you can make some of those adjustments as you pull your picture together. So now that we've got like an awesome picture, let's go ahead and stick some stickers on it. Because I was talking about the stickers earlier. There's definitely a couple of different Sega characters right here that you can add to your artwork. You can even draw like backgrounds for these characters and create like little scenes for them to hang out in. Let's go ahead and we'll stick an Earl. They only come in the one size though, so you can't like resize these guys. They're just put an Earl sitting on my nose. Yeah, you can't resize these guys. You're stuck with the one size. I did also mention this game application came with a bunch of different animations. So you got a boy, a girl, a dog, a bunch of different animals, Sonic running, ToeJam walking around. Hey, there's the jet from the Sega classic Afterburner that you can stick right in your scene to just like cruise around. So that's kind of, I don't know if it's cool. It's a thing. It's a thing this game can do. So Art Alive comes complete with a whole collection of little stickers that you can add to your picture straight away, which helps you get started making a picture really quickly. Any changes to your palette selection will obviously change the color of your stickers as well. So if you want Sonic to be blue, you need to pick the right palette for that. There's also a blank spot here in the sticker selector where you can design your very own stickers to drop into your picture using a very small box. And the animations work very similar. There are a whole bunch of different animations that you can pick from. You can even choose how you want to control them. So using the Sega pad, you can control whatever animation you have selected. You can either move it around yourself or you can plonk it down and choose where it walks. And again, we have the ability to design our very own animation using 4 full frames of animation. Again, in a tiny little box, we can put down some lines and see how they look when they are animated. You can also edit the existing animations or add stickers. So there is actually a bit of flexibility here to work on animations, to use the stickers. You can only have one animation at a time though. And you can plonk these down on a blank canvas, you can plonk them down on a background that you have already drawn, or use one of the default backgrounds that come bundled with Sega's Art Alive. There are 5 different backgrounds to pick from. There's, haunted house, prehistoric, the Sega Art Alive title screen, and the beach, and one other. The forest? So yeah, Sega's Art Alive has a bunch of tools to get you started using it really quickly, but also to give you a little bit of flexibility around, designing your own stickers, designing your own single sticker, or designing your own animation. And you've also got the Mega Drive controller to contend with. Not exactly my first choice when it comes to pulling together pieces of art, but for blowing up zombies and aliens, it's a fantastic controller. It's a shame that they didn't have anything better for when Art Alive came along. A couple of years later, when its sequel, Wacky Worlds, is more of a spiritual successor. So Art Alive was put together by a pretty small team. There was 2 programmers, a bunch of QA and sound, but there was a spiritual successor made by another company that really took the stickers and the animation part of Art Alive and turned that into a game where you can create essentially your own dioramas and build out your own scenes using the default templates. But that game, Wacky Worlds, has mouse compatibility. The Sega mouse came out years after Art Alive came out. So yeah, we are stuck with the Mega Drive controller. But like I said, or like I've shown, you can do some pretty cool stuff with what you've got. So one thing that I do struggle a little bit with is that this is not a game, it is an application. And it's really hard to review something like this, especially when I'm so used to reviewing some of the best, most hardcore action games for systems like the Segas and the Ataris and some Nintendo systems. So I had to come up with my very own way to review Art Alive. And that's not by actually looking at the software, but by looking at the hardware. We are gonna see how hardcore is Sega's Art Alive compared with some of the best Mega Drive games out there. So I have pulled out some of my favorite Mega Drive games. Haunting, starring Poltergeist. We have Zombies, or Zombies Ate My Neighbors if you're in the US, as well as Streets of Rage. 3 absolutely hardcore, amazing Mega Drive titles that we're going to pit up against Sega's Art Alive. And I found the perfect way to test all 4 games at once to see how hardcore they really are. We're going to dip them in a vat of acid. Are you with me?
Yes!
Good! Let's get this show on the road! Okay, this is kind of awkward, but all those games got burnt up. So I'm going to have to order a couple more off eBay, I think. But I do really appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out with me right here on the Leftover Culture Review. Obviously, Art Alive it's a game that I've pulled out a couple of times here on the channel already, but expect to see a lot more of it. I have been slowly working on my very own art exhibition. Because that's just what I like to do in my free time. And obviously I get sent to my room a lot because I need to chill out. So I have pulled together a whole bunch of pieces using nothing but a Mega Drive and a copy of Art Alive and a way to record the drawings to pull together some original artwork made using a Sega Mega Drive. And you guys can check it out over on the Leftover Culture Review. I'm really pleased with how the pieces came out and just what Art Alive is capable of. I can't wait for you guys to go and check it out. And stay tuned for some more Leftover Culture. Cheers, guys.